I grew up in an abusive home where um, physical seemed to be the minimal part of the abuse. Like, and I remember when the teacher and the principal got together with my mom, and they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I wanted to know if I died today, where would I go?
Take us back and kind of walk us through just your life, man.
All right, y'all ready?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
So I did not grow up in church. In fact, I was the first Christian in my household. Um,
Wow.
and also I did not come from a musical family. It is literally amazing how God gave me the gift. Like I remember from the first moment I could talk, I was singing. It was just something that was ingrained in me.
Yeah.
And you know how like our parents are not perfect. I grew up in a broken home, like many people. Um, and went through many years of trying to figure out like why me?
Yeah.
Everything that
Right.
I
Right.
tell people all the time, everything that could go wrong in my life went wrong in my life.
Mm.
Um, my mom um started dating my stepfather when I was two, and my real father was in jail. And so I was so young, I thought he was my father until I was about 7 years old
Wow.
when I realized that he was my stepfather. Stepfather, he grew up in an abusive home,
Yeah.
and honestly, now I can talk about it differently. It felt like just hell then because the way that he thought disciplining was abusive. And
Mm.
so I grew up in an abusive home where um physical seemed to be the minimal part of the abuse. Like I remember
Wow.
he could like I feel like the worst kind of abuse is isolation when you can live with somebody for like they can stop talking to you directly or acknowledging you directly for three
Yeah.
years at a time.
Yep.
He would do that. And he would indirectly, and it was like everything that I could do to try to appease him, I could never win him over. And
Wow.
I never wondered why I could like he just seemed to like hate me. Um, and then also experienced molestation at a young age from a cousin. Um, and I held on to that until I told my mom finally through a song when I was like 20 years old.
Wow.
Um, and then
And
growing
you
up in
and
an
you
abuse,
said when did it happen? How old were you?
I was about three or four, and I still remember.
All the way to 20
Um,
is when
yeah,
you finally. Wow. Okay. Okay. All
because
right. So
because you know we grew up.
here's
Yeah,
what we're gonna have
I'm
to do.
sorry.
Here's what we're gonna have to do. Okay. You're saying a lot, sir. Okay, and
Sorry.
and we're gonna have to slow this down. We're gonna have to take this slow. We're gonna chop it up. And hey, you right here in St. Louis, so we could do a part
Yep,
two in studio, bro.
we can.
I wanna really take my time here. So first and foremost, you said that you did not come from a Christian home, right?
Not at all. No.
So there's a real brokenness that you saw and that you lived through. However,
Hmm.
being that young, you were not aware of that this is brokenness, right? Because when you're in the middle of something, when you're
No,
already in the middle of it, you're like, oh, I just thought everybody's got treated like this, right?
it was normal. It was normal to live in chaos and to live in uncertainty, to live in just this toxic
Mm,
environment where I used to dream about the days that I would be free.
wow. So okay. So if you were to take me back to younger Lloyd, okay, and you're in the
Hmm.
middle of this, at what age did you start to kind of realize like, hey, something ain't right? Like this shouldn't be normal.
I think it was once I went to school and I was around fifth grade,
Okay.
and I was acting out at school because I was a chubbier kid. So
Okay.
kids were picking on me at school, and then
Mm,
also at home I was being abused. And I remember when the teacher and the principal got together with my mom,
hmm.
and they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me, and the fact that I couldn't say how my stepfather was abusing me was
Wow.
like a red light that this is not normal. I gotta hide what this is, and also almost take the grunt of it because they're thinking something's wrong with me. They even send me to psychiatrists and all of this, and the psychiatrist was like, "No, nothing's wrong with him."
Wow.
Um, but I
So
had to hide that
so
fact that I was good.
once they noticed that once the psychologist, you going to somebody who went to school to really,
Hmm.
poke and prod and figure things out.
Yep.
Once they come back and say, hey, no, it's nothing. How was your mom receiving that? How was the principal? Like how did everybody receive that note of no, he's good.
It's kind of like I fell through the cracks again, like just went on with normal life, public school.
Mm.
It's about numbers, it's about tests, getting
Yep.
them on to the next level.
Yep.
It went on the regular schedule program, just kept going. And was depressed. My self-worth was so low. The only thing I had was my voice. Only
Wow.
thing I had was my singing and my music. And I in music to hide myself in.
Okay. So not coming from a musical family either. Um, when did you kind of find your voice to make that an escape for you?
It, I have always been singing,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't until probably late high school, early college where I started to write.
Okay.
And I was able to immerse myself in my music and write lyrics that ultimately it was like I was writing myself out of depression.
Wow.
I was writing myself in, and back for it, you gotta for that to be to really understand that, you gotta understand that I had an uncle
Mm-hmm.
that was a Christian. That wasn't He didn't really come around a lot. And then all of a sudden around my, I guess it was eighth grade year going into ninth grade,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden he started coming over almost every weekend. And he had sons my age, and I wanted to hang out with my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked him once, I was like, hey, can I go home with you for the weekend? And they had their tradition was on the weekends, on Saturday, we would go clean the church. He was an elder in the church. So I was cleaning the church,
Okay.
and he was shining shoes at a barber shop later on that day. And then that next morning we were up for Sunday school at the crack of dawn. He taught Sunday school, and we were at church all day. And that's when I was introduced to Jesus.
And
And
what about
yeah,
age? What age was this?
I was around probably 12 or 13 when I started going with my uncle.
Okay.
12 or 13.
So
Yep.
this is after psychologist and all of that.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
12 or 13. It's probably a couple of years after the psychiatrist. And I remember after that ordeal, I had these years that I would think very deeply about, if I die today, where would I go?
Wow.
But I had no answer.
Mm. That's
And it went
tough.
on for years. I can vividly remember having a deep longing to know,
Yeah.
is there something after this? And if I die, where would I go?
Wow. And was that realization when you started going to church with your
It was
uncle?
before.
It was
It was
before that.
before. It
Okay.
was before. It was before, probably years before. I had these years of this deep contemplating, thinking of like, I'm missing something.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's something special that's going to happen in my life, but I don't see it now.
Mm. Yeah.
but but even after that, I wanted to know, if I died today, where would I go?
Wow. Man, and at such a young age to have that thought process.
Yeah.
Um, and and what's even more difficult at that age is that obviously you only know so much of the world, right? There's you're going into some deep thoughts
Yeah.
with such a slight understanding of just life in general, just the world and how everybody functions and how just because you're in the situation doesn't mean that it's going to last forever, right? It's a temporary situation.
Hmm.
Obviously, when you're in the middle of it, though, it feels like it's an
Yeah.
eternal situation. And so,
Yeah. And
how did
especially because I didn't know Jesus, I had no hope.
yeah?
I had no hope. That my situation was my situation, and I saw no end because I didn't know the hope of what it meant to have Jesus.
So did you? That's good. So did you have anybody? Because I know you were talking about kind of being bullied a little bit. Was there anybody looking back that showed you some kind of light or some kind of joy, like a friend at school or somebody or somebody who had some kind of connection where you're like, you know what, like if it wasn't for them still being around me or accepting me or loving on me or whatever, I would not have been able to continue.
Not really. I mean, I had
Wow.
frenemies. I mean, I was a chubby
Yeah.
kid trying to fit in with the kid across the street and the kids next door. They were
Yeah.
popular, and their
Mm.
parents, because I was the chubby sweet kid, their mom made them hang out with me. Um,
Mm. So you felt,
it
you could feel that it wasn't authentic.
yeah, I could.
Man, and that's even harder than to just know, like, hey, I don't like you, dog. Like,
And it wasn't that they didn't like me. It's just that kids are sometimes stereotypical. They like stereotype. They latch on to stereotypes,
mhm.
and if I didn't fit the mold of what was considered cool,
Mm.
I was a chubby kid. I didn't play. I played sports for a little bit, trying to fit in with them, but I love music. It
Mm.
was, and I didn't fit the mold for what they considered to be cool.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have anybody else, like even friend wise, that was into music, or were you kind of solo on that as well?
No, only me.
Hey, if you liked any of this content and you found some value in it, make sure that you like, subscribe, and of course, share it. Also, if you're interested in some more, go ahead and check out these videos. Till next time, grace and peace. Adios.